always miss this turn. Arms are fucking dying. Why are you so weak? You're just being weak. This looks like something we ought to do. Front end's a bit active. We're going to call this cardio.
Hey, welcome back. So grab yourself a glass of scotch and follow along with this video. If you figured out from the first part that I'm doing a little shit talking and some self-deprecation, you'd be right, and if you guess that's because it's coming on to race season, you'd be right again. And if you've watched any of my old videos, particularly during the race season, you know I shit talk myself when I'm riding. That's okay. I had a little talk with myself and confirmed that I don't mean anything by it, so we're okay. Alright, let's get on with this ride. So the day before this was all about some garage time and getting the top end on Colin's bike done. And everything looked good, and I think it came together well, and well, the bike ran, so that's a positive. And today was just about getting out to put some miles on the bike, or some hours on the bike, and that's what I did. If you watch my videos, you probably recognize this trail. You recognize it from the winter and you recognize it from the summer, but this is the stuff that Lance kept up by his house and that we ride pretty often. And there's some good news coming because we've done some expansions, or well, rather Lance has done some expansions to the trail, and I'm anxious to go over and see it. But for today, I'm probably the first bike to lay down some tracks for this year on this trail, and it's still a little bit wet, but you know what, it's trying out pretty good. And what I really like about this trail is that it's rough, but not so rough that it stops you in your tracks. There's no natural pauses here except for one, and that's at the rock pile. I'm nowhere close to that. So this trail is more like Fight Club, where you get to hammer on yourself and contemplate life choices. At this point, I think this is my second or third lap. Definitely not my first. The first lap was a lot of stopping to try and get feeling back in my arms and, well, like I said, contemplate those life choices and clean up some of the trail. Over the winter, we did get a fair amount of riding in, not as much as we have in past years, and I did go to Georgia here not too long ago for a week of riding, but what I've learned is that that kind of terrain where it's flat and fast, like Georgia, or in the winter time when you're on flat, fast trails, it doesn't work you the same way as single track does like this stuff, and so you get a little doughy and soft, and I'm reaping the reward. Alright, it's not that terrible. I did get some riding in over the winter, and I did keep myself pretty fit as I normally do, but this year's a big year. This year they split the intermediate class for NBDRA, and I think I might be in the intermediate A's, and that means I'm going to be, well, bringing up the rear for the intermediate A, and it might be my last year for riding intermediates before I move on to the plus 45. Which isn't to say that the plus 45 category is any easier, because there's a lot of guys in there that are, well, expert class riders that can still move along pretty quick despite being longevity challenged. happily the trail's in pretty good shape. You're not going to need to do a whole lot of maintenance to clear any trees, and the corduroy road's still here and intact, so that's good. There are some options that I found that I think will be fun to incorporate, namely that log crossing being one of them. And Lance has an idea about jumping this stream up here because, well, when he rode it with Tyler Medallia and Tyler jumped right over it, well, that set the idea in motion for Lance. But for those of us that are a little bit more terrestrial based, it's going to have to be ridden just like that. Well, here's the log that I'm talking about, but we need to do a little clearing on the far side so that you can actually jump it without running into a tree when you land. And don't worry, I did not take out my head pipe. I actually did get it on the edge of the skid plate. So despite getting some good riding in over the winter, I just feel like my bike fitness is a bit off, and I was definitely feeling it today, but not as bad as I have in years past where I didn't get any riding in over the winter. So I'm pretty happy about that, and I'm looking forward to the big challenge that comes this year. But this is the kind of stuff I need to train on more because this is what our hare scrambles look like. I did take off my X31 rear tire and put on a Michelin Extreme 140 with a soft mousse, and I'd forgotten how well that tire just climbs over everything like the terrain that you're seeing in this video. It really does hook up well. Where it's a bit of a letdown is in the mud or the actual braking power when you need to get a good bite. Everything else, hill climbs, this kind of stuff over the roots and everything, that is a good working tire. Up front, I'm still rocking the X31. That's an 8100 tire, so it is a little bit narrower, but not much, but it's certainly taller. What I don't have for it, though, is a mousse, and I'm used to having all my bad decisions not have consequences of pinch flats, so as a consequence to that, I'm running a bit more air pressure, and so it feels a bit firmer. Maybe I'll buy a mousse for it. We'll see. Alright, that just about wraps up this video, and I think somewhere in the summer here Lance talked about hosting some people up here in Freddy to ride these trails and more, some over on McLeod Hill and getting over to Claudy. I think we could make a pretty good day of it with several hours of riding and hitting lots of trails. So if you're in the area or not too far from the area, stand by for an invite. And of course, don't forget about the struggle buddy.